Hi YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I got a 4 on my AP Calculus AB exam.
1 a.m. eyes closed, I'm slowly falling.
This video will be broken down into parts, so you can use the chapters feature down below to just skip ahead to whatever part you want to hear it. But I highly recommend that you hear the first part because that's the most important part, which is kind of the formatting of the exam. Stick around for that first part at least, because that really was the biggest part of me getting a 4, was understanding just the formatting and how to do it. I'll also talk about the scoring a little bit later on, but let's get to the formatting. So this exam was by far the most strict exam I've ever had in my life, mostly because of the amount of time allotted for each section of the exam. There's 2 sections, each broken down into 2 parts. So really 4 parts, 2 sections, and it's just like, it's now or never. Once that timer rings, like, it's over. It's game over. You're not going back to answer those questions. They like move on really fast. So you have to get really quick with answering questions. And I'll go over tips on how to do that later on in the video. But let's talk about the format, which I keep hyping up. Here we go. Section 1 is all multiple choice questions. In total, it's 1 hour and 45 minutes long and 45 questions long. So the 2 parts that section 1 is broken down into is part A, which are 30 multiple choice questions, and you're given 60 minutes to answer those 30 questions, so 2 minutes per question if you really think about it. And these 30 questions are no calculator. That is important, no calculator. And these questions are mostly like, look at a graph, matching graphs, matching derivative graphs with their antiderivative graphs, stuff like that. So get really good at that. All right, now part B. Part B has 15 questions, and you have 45 minutes to answer all 15 questions in that allotted amount of time. Again, all multiple choice, but this time you do have calculator. So these are going to be things that are mostly graphing oriented because you're using a graphing calculator. Remember the functions your calculator can do. Use it to find zeros, find intersection points, find derivatives, integrate, do those things with your calculator. Do not waste time doing it by hand because that's what your calculator is there for. It's to help you. Okay, if we think about 45 minutes for 15 questions, that's 3 minutes per question. Here's tip number 1. I said I was going to do tips later, but I'll just sprinkle them in to the video. Tip number 1, if you do not know a question, skip it. Do not waste all your time on that one question, and then later on you're going to have no time left. Skip that question. It's not about marks you're losing, it's about what marks you can gain. You know what I mean? Because this exam is hard. So try and snatch up all those easy questions, as much easy marks as you can get. Okay, after this first section, you would have already been 1 hour and 45 minutes into the exam. After this section, you get a 10-minute break. This is where you go to the washroom. There's a supervisor watching you, and if you want to go to the washroom, you have to raise your hand, and someone will escort you to the washroom and bring you back. Let's go on to section 2, which are the free response questions. So in total, there are 6 free response questions, and you have 1 hour and 30 minutes to complete all 6 of those questions. The reason why you have so much time is because each question has an A, B, C, D portion of the question. So each question is worth a lot of marks. I believe each question is worth 9 marks. So you can see why you need that much time. And every question follows a pattern. It starts with tabular, which is like a chart with information, with data, and you do something with it, right? Integrate some sort of graphing component to each question. And then lastly is just solving or algebraic. They give you an equation, you do something with it. So this section is broken down into 2 parts. Part A is 2 free response questions. You have 30 minutes to complete these 2 free response questions, and you are allowed a calculator. But remember, each question has a part A, B, C, D. For these 2 questions, I highly recommend use your calculator. Again, don't forget using your calculator. That's the simplest, dumbest mistake somebody can make, is not using their calculator on an exam. It does not make you weak. It's a tool to help you achieve success. Part B of section 2 is 4 free response questions, all no calculator, and you have 60 minutes to do it. So 1 hour, 4 questions, 15 minutes per question. That's how you should be keeping track of time. The thing about this exam that I've really learned is it really is a race. It's not a race with you against your peers, your colleagues, whatever. It's a race against time. It's a race against if you can answer as many questions as possible in the given amount of time. Okay, there is something about this section though. With section 1, the multiple choice questions, once you're done with your first 30 multiple choice questions without a calculator, you basically close that booklet. They make you close the booklet, seal it up, and hand it in already. So you can't go back for that section. But in section 2, during that part B of section 2, you can go back. This is the part that's different from section 1. You can go back to part A and finish up those first 2 questions. However, you will not be allowed a calculator to answer those first 2 questions because we're now in the no calculator section of part 2. So in total, let's go over this. In total, the exam is about 3 hours and 15 minutes long and a 10-minute break halfway through. There's 45 multiple choice questions, of which 30 are non-calculator questions and 15 are calculator allowed questions. Then we have 6 free response questions. 2 of them are calculator allowed, 4 of them are not calculator allowed. I should also mention, which was what I was hinting to in the beginning, which was that there's a very long kind of introduction process. For me, it was my, resource teacher. She went on and read literally from the AP classroom board, AP college board, terms and conditions, which gives you step-by-step instructions how to fill out your registration sheet. You have to fill out stuff about your identification number, yada yada yada. They give you stickers and stuff to stick on your packets. So very long beginning process, about 30 minutes before you even get to the exam to write the 3-hour exam. So you're looking about a 3.5 hour to 4 hour long period of time plus a break halfway through. So do not expect this exam to be short. It's not. It's very long. All right, let's talk about the scoring now. A lot of people don't actually know what or how scoring on AP exams work, right? So instead of getting percentages or A, B, C, whatever, you get numbers. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 3 is a passing grade. Anything below 3, you failed. 3 is a passing grade, which means you earned yourself a university credit, and that's great. It also, I guess, could go towards scholarships and stuff. I will make a whole separate video about the AP College Board scholarships because, oh man, that was a whole debacle. So if you guys want that video, please leave a comment below asking for it because I will make a video about it because it was a very confusing process and sadly I'm not eligible to win a scholarship. Let's talk about the overall amount of marks that you can get in the AP exam, at least this year, or I guess this past year. I wrote mine in 2023, May 8th, 2023. I will never forget that date. Oof. So for the multiple choice questions, calculator or non-calculator, regardless, each question is worth 1 mark. Each question is worth 1 mark. That is why I told you, do not spend too much time on one question being stuck there when you're missing out on so many other marks, 1 mark per question. That's really, really good. Especially because in the free response questions, like I said, each one is worth 9 marks. And by the way, average wise, based on past statistic, the average for each free response question, some of them are really easy, some of them are really hard. The really hard ones, some of the averages were 1 out of 9. And that's hundreds of thousands of students taking those exams. And the average of those scores were 1 mark out of 9 for a really hard free response question. So do not feel bad if you get 1 out of 9 on a free response question. It happens to the best of us. All right, let's talk about what gives you a 3, a passing grade, or what gives you a 4 or a 5, or failing grades. So of those marks, if you get between 0 and 25 marks, you get a 1. That's failing. If you get 26 to 43 range, that's a 2, still failing. Passing grade starts at 44 to 58. That's a passing grade. That's a 3. Then we have 59 to 70. That range is a 4. I guess that's where I landed. How you get a 5 is if your score lands between 71 and 108. If you want to think about it in college course grade equivalent terms, that's about a B minus, C plus, or C. 4, which is what I got, is an A minus, B plus, or B. And of course, 5 is A plus or A. Lastly, let's talk about the distribution of this year's AP exam scores. So this comes from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Trevor Packer, at AP Trevor on Twitter. He said that in 2023, the AP Calculus AB scores were people who got a score of 5 were within the top 22%. 4 is 16%, 3, 20%, 2, 22%, and 1, 20%. So as you can see, there's more people passing than failing, so that's a good sign. But there's still a hefty amount of people, about 42%, who are still failing, and that's not great. He's saying that is a hefty increase over the last year, especially kind of rivaling the pre-pandemic performance. Let's talk about some of the rules now. No smartphones, no smartwatches, no devices at all, apart from a calculator that is approved from this list. I'll leave the link down below if you're curious. You can only bring 2 type 2 pencils. I don't know why it's so specific, but yeah. You can bring 1 pen. I think it has to be like blue or black. It can't be red. You can only bring 1 commercially sold water bottle, and you have to remove that plastic wrap. So it'll look something like this, and I guess it's to prevent cheating, but I thought that was really weird and funny. Here's some other really weird rules. If anyone in your cohort or group, basically the group that you're taking the exam with, your peers, your class, gets caught cheating, if anyone in that group is guilty of cheating, everyone in that group basically fails the exam. So that's really unfair, but it just goes to show that you shouldn't cheat on these exams. Okay, lastly, one thing I forgot to mention was that the exam is not free. Sometimes your school will pay for you, like my school did, which is really great. But if let's say you're at a smaller school or a private school, I find that those schools don't really pay for you to take that AP exam. So I think right now the fee's about $97, which isn't bad. I'm glad that I passed, and I'm sure you can too, because we're about to get into the tips. All right, now let's go over some tips for studying. 1, go online to the AP College Boards. They always release the free response questions for past years. I believe my year, 2023, free response questions are already out. So yeah, you can literally search it up. It will show you the answers. It will show you how to answer them. It will show you the questions. That is really how I studied for those free response questions. It was really good. They will not, however, release the multiple choice questions because I think they reuse those. There's also a really good YouTube playlist that they make a new one every year. I'll link the one that I was watching right here. And basically these are, I guess, like calculus teachers, or they're on the board of this AP College Board classroom thing. And they make these videos helping us study for these exams. Another thing you can do is do a mock exam. That's exactly what I did. I not only did one in my class, but I also did one at home when I was studying over the weekend. I literally went online again to that website, printed the free response questions, and then did 6 of them. And I felt pretty good about it. Here's some tips while actually writing the exam, not just for studying. 1, try your best to have some sense of time. You're not allowed to watch, but I guarantee you there will be a clock in the room somewhere. And you should know that it's okay to leave some questions blank. If you are stuck on a question for more than 2 minutes, skip it. I guarantee it is not worth your time. Those marks you're not losing those marks. You're just replacing them with other marks. Think of it that way. Do not get stuck for more than 2 minutes. It will ruin your whole rhythm. It may seem like a lot of time, right? 3 hours, but bro, that flew by for me. Please, 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 time management. Another thing you can do is make a formula sheet. I'll put a picture of mine here. It's really ugly, I'm sorry, but on one side I had all my formulas, on the other side I had all my theorems. It's just a good thing to do when you're learning so many different units of calculus, right? It's hard to put that all into one sheet. It's kind of hard to organize all that in your head. So to put it all on one sheet where you can see everything you've learned, it's a really good idea. So do that. Obviously, you're not allowed to have that in your exam, but when you're studying, it's good, right? Definitely know your differentiation rules, like quotient rule and product rule. Very important. I guarantee they will be in your multiple choice questions. They will be in your free response questions. They will be everywhere. Quotient rule and product rule always are on the exam. Here's a tip that not many people know about, but if you watch this YouTube playlist like I was talking about, this is where I learned about it. When you're writing explanations, it's okay to use shortcuts. So let's say in the question, it's already giving you f of x as a function, right? It's like this whole big complicated function. When you're writing it, or an explanation about whatever, answering the question, would you write this whole long equation referring to it, or just write f of x? You can just refer to it by its notation, by its name. You can also do that for, let's say, you're referring to its derivative graph. Well, do f prime of x. Do not waste your time writing explanations or going over the top. Try and be as quick as possible, saving as much time. Use shortcuts. Also, another thing about these shortcuts, a lot of times on the free response questions, before you even answer things, if it gives you multiple functions or multiple graphs, relate those graphs. Be like, oh, this is the derivative of this graph, or this is the antiderivative, stuff like that. That is usually worth 1 mark on those free response questions. So make sure you take the time to relate those graphs, because that is worth a mark. I'll put a whole bunch of links on the screen right now and in the description below for even more help if you guys need it. If you guys want me to make another video about this, about even more tips, about the scholarships, the College Board scholarships, beg for it down below in the comments so that I know that I actually need to make it. This has been a super long video. Was not expecting it to be this long. I thought it was going to be a short video. Again, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm thinking about making a Q&A. Apart from that, this video is pretty much over. I should mention that I do have a TikTok and I do have an Instagram. Go check them out. I'm going to post more shorts content. My Instagram, I'm going to post daily stories. TikTok, oh my god, this one video is blowing up right now, so go check it out. Leave a like if this helped you, or you really enjoyed this video, or you want to see more videos like this. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. I'm really passionate about making this channel for you guys. That's it for this video. Bye. See you later.
Don't wanna